know that as a team we can play to a good level, but when we have like a bad week of practice, it's hard to really say like we're going to go up on stage and play really good, right? I think if we're able to kind of make practice more consistent and like make our level kind of higher on average, then I think we'll have more good games. Until then, it's some games will be good, some will be bad. So we kind of raise that level.
Practice is something I often hear when it comes to videos. But last topic, you'll be facing Excel today. Mickey, Patrick, Botman, one of the best I think we have in the league. How would you describe them?
I think they're both good players. I think they like to play aggressive on lane. They like to kind of look for advantages. So I'm expecting them. I mean, obviously there's some new champions in the meta right now, like Seraphine. We don't know exactly what they're going to prioritize, but I'm expecting them to look to punish us and look to play aggressive. So we just need to do our best to answer that and play our game, and then hopefully we can have a good game.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you so much, Maddie, for the interview. Good luck against Excel. Sharks, back to you.
Thank you very much, Laura. A very realistic perspective from Maddie saying, well, yeah, there are just a couple of things that we need to work on, and I believe you know it quite well, don't you?
Well, yeah, so we were actually both watched the World Finals at the same watch party somewhere in London last year, so I had a chance to chat to him back then, this obviously before he came into the LEC, but I was really struck by his intelligence about different matchups and actually just his mindset. It's obviously been a very difficult season so far across the entire year, but I think just, again, showing the level-headedness and the awareness of what needs to be changed, it speaks a lot to his character and hopefully what he can continue to bring to this team.
Oh, absolutely does. We just see that he's trying to take it all in, which is great for a younger player. Now, let's also talk about their opponents, Excel. It is going to be a difficult one for BDS, even though Excel yesterday wasn't able to beat Rogue. They have been phenomenal so far, so a little challenge. You can talk to me about what's going to work for Excel, but you cannot mention that guy in the jungle mark room, because he gets mentioned too much.
How are you feeling over that trouble?
You know what? I'm not actually. I'm gonna be very nice and say that I feel in particular against this matchup when Excel is playing the top 6 teams that we have in the last stage of yesterday.
Should we bring him back?
When the top team is playing against the other top teams, it's fine to slip up and lose to them. We were like, oh, they were better on the day, but we know we can be on the same page. But when you play against teams like BDS, who are very important in the standings, slip up against them, then other teams will overtake them in the top of the standings.
Well, when it comes to kind of the teams that are at the top of the table, they did not mention Rogue, but they did manage Matt recently. Won pull up the draft, so is this kind of a recipe for success for Excel?
So I think what really showed in this kind of game, I mean, I'll let you talk about the draft in a little bit, but in terms of like, it's just every person on the team is just on the same page. They understand where the play's going to be made next. So even in top lane, if the play's being made bot lane, it's like, oh, okay, this is what needs to happen with my lane. It's just an overall understanding, everyone working towards a greater goal.
But if you look all across the board, I see proactivity in every lane. I think if I'm not wrong, that's even the clip that I pulled up on the volleyball play. You've got the Lucian Yumi in the ball lane, so you want to play aggressive through there. You've got the Ari wants to play aggressive. You've got the Nug, you can make plays when he's mega now. So they literally had a 3-lane setup and an uber aggressive jungle that can make plays work in the early game.
So many options.
And this is exactly, they have so many options. They can play through every player in the game, and this is what unlocks their mid-game macro, getting ahead in the early.
Sometimes the mid-game macro has not been exactly where it needed to be, and I think in the hardest of situations, sometimes in terms of the opponents that they face, be it a G2, be it a Rogue, but they know that they have a rocket bot lane Patrick, and he's been a rocket for so long.
Yeah, and you know, I think it is right to just put a pin in a couple of those mid-game worries to say, we'll return to this if this happens again. But when you do have someone who has been, particularly through spring, you know, the Aphelios Jinx, crazy hyper carry, still starting to show up on the different AD carry champion pool of summer, this has been a big point for XL, and particularly with Patrick at this point, also be able to bring that to the early game. Of course, Trouble's mentioning that Lucian Yumi, which you do want to start making plays with early, making dives right across the map. As you can see this clip too, is starting to show the holistic understanding of how this player wants to play the game.
And Trouble, I know we always forget to mention him, but you just want to give a quick word of how good Newduck has been.
I think his stylistic completely changed from spring to summer. In spring, he used to sit in the lane, even though we had more playmaker champions up and available in the pool. He would sit a lot in the lane. Now he's pairing up with Makun so freaking much, not just for the mid-jungle duo, but to roam around every single lane. And I feel like the Ari and the Lissandra have been huge key factors in unlocking him on the sidelines.
And having a huge impact for XL. Without further ado, it's Medi time for XL versus BDS. Over to you.
It's Medi. You don't have fun with Medi, that's true. We're professionals. Video game commentators talk about fictional characters for a living. Can't have fun. Can't have fun. Only seriousness. Only seriousness. It's a serious. Serious business. Serious snake. Time to talk about a cat that gets another rat. Welcome everyone to day 2 of week 3. We're about to be jumping into the draft, which means that we're here live from the studios with our wonderful audience, but we need to listen.
私は今よりも進歩しなければなりません。
Professionals. そうそうだ。
現時点でなせる最善を。
まだ大丈夫です。
評価に値します。助かる。
はい。
よし。お、やりますね。助かる。評価に値します。
はい。
少し手を。さあ次だ。なんよし。
はい。
さらに優れたパフォーマンスを。はい。よし。
ありがとうございます。
最後まで気抜くなよ。評価に値します。はい。
ありがとうございます。
やりますの。助かる。
はい。ありがとうございます。
よし。
はい。
お、やりますね。
一緒にお願いします。
今回のプレイ、これまでとは異なる感覚。これが手応え。
What we see, more early game aggression, something like Ari is still up and available, but we do know that Victorian is prepared to play the Lysandra into it, so maybe Excel don't want to risk it. We talked about Lucian.
我ながら怪しい。私は今よりも進歩しなければなりません。現時点でなせる最善を。さあ次だ。なんだ助かる。
ありがとうございます。
やるぞお前ら。はいよし。
はい。まだ大丈夫です。
よし。
すごいです。
なんだ
次が正念場です。はい、助かる。
ありがとうございます。
よし、はい、助かる。よし、やります。はい、
はい、
やりますね。さらに優れたパフォーマンスを。よし、
はい、
お、やりますね。古き良きものを伝えましょう。これまでと何か分からなかった。
Very difficult to deal with if they can get there. So we'll see how they leverage their range. Patience is important here for BDS. Let's see if they can weather the early game storm that we're expecting to come out from XL.
Has been XL's modus operandi so far in summer. Get ahead of the game, snowball the game, get out of your opponent's favor. BDS still struggling here in the summer season, but they have a lot of ways to win out.
少し変わった感じがするな。少し変わった感じがするな。少し変わった感じがするな。
I will say, because we haven't seen Talia at all in summer here in the LEC, this is remind people what she does. Her Q is
アイドルマスターシンデレラガールズスターライトステージ。今日
All I heard was
she's tough. She's tough. We'll see if Nuclear Wind has his eyes open this game.
expectation is the early game.
今までの私もこれからの私もなあは各駅停車が好きなんだよね。
Used to work right. It's actually much easier to play at mid than it used to be to actually get pushed. You can see them already in the mid-lane matchup, whereas Nuke Duck relatively high cooldown on his Q, less of an issue for Nuclear Wind. But she really scales well. Once she gets more cooldown reduction, she becomes very, very powerful because of the spammable Qs, and now that you can stun as well against champions with a lot of dashes. You look at Lucian, you look at Wukong.
フィフスアニバーサリー5周年ありがとな。
So I like the approach. Let's see how it pans out. I love seeing pros do something a little bit different.
It has been played a lot in major regions around the world. Mid-to-late, I think 18 games so far. As Patrick takes an Ignite here, man, he's going to flash forward, cleanse away from the Ignite. Patrick just survives. And down to about 50 HP there. Sinkoff trying to trade in onto Marcoon, steals away the big Razor Beak. Glacial Path coming out. Sinkoff can turn this one around, work around going down. As that seismic shove has to be flashed by Nuke Duck. He escapes. Marcoon still trying to trade, but with a Dote coming in first, Mickey across the wall could flash. Will do it. Ignite taking it. Sinkoff.
Oh, Mickey!
Played by Mickey. Marcoon, he'd actually got that kill. Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Marcoon that actually got that kill, so everything worked out nicely for XL. I like the aggression from BDS.
おはようございます。
The bot lane are taking a very aggressive trade. They were getting advantages.
今日もいい
spotted on second one here. Aggressivo's just going to give up a couple of minions to this tower. Doesn't have flash, of course, on the Sejuani, so if he's used that Q, the optic assault, doesn't really have a way to escape.
So I will say that the
Producer さん
as you can see, the lane phase is clearly dominating the fight for the time being, as that ignite is often something that can be used against champions.
最近の兄ちゃんは
Doesn't seem to care. Leveraging the strength of Solo to pushing this way. We'll see how that matchup continues as the lane progresses, but for the time being, Finn has control. The BDS being able to find that 2v2 skirmish. Lucian army is often very go back to his top, gets his Krugs up. You can see Marco kind of doing the same, has his Raptors. Ganking opportunities right now. It's just a bit of trading on the bot side of the map. This huge wave is stacking up. This is typically where you would be concerned about a potential roam or dive. If he hadn't had this much control of the wave, and the shenanigans didn't happen earlier, Nuclear Int could have been close to that level 6 as well. You talked about the TP. If he was those things, the play that you would have seen last season would have been those things, which means real ball, dive, great. But
I like the blah 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 bit of that play. I think that's the important proviso to add on to the end of it.
yeah, because then the next part that I skipped out was receiver now. See, this is a little bit more than I expected, so I guess on
見ちゃダメですよ。この写真はアイドルちゃんのじゃなくて
to be procced earlier than it did.
It looked like it was just on the edge of the ultimate range.
The tech is you apply the passive and then you ult. Because if you apply the ult, I'm pretty sure you
The passive has an internal cooldown. So if you... The ult will always apply the passive.
Yes.
But if you've already applied the passive with the ult, you can't then reapply the passive afterwards.
Yes, exactly. So he kind of min-maxed his combo there.
And it does percentage max HP, which is why it's so great.
Exactly.
We could have put that in a more concise bubble if we'd worked it
But what? What, people think we speak professionally for a living or something? Let's have a look now. First Dragon did go down in favor of BDS. Reminder that in terms of stakes, this is a game that you kind of expect XL to win.
Yeah.
But if BDS can find a big win, like they need it. Often you sit there and think early on in the split, it's not that bad, but when you're losing all of your games, fun fact, it's not great.
Yeah, it's quite bad.
You do need to find some wins, even if you start with a struggling start to the split. Otherwise, you find yourself in a Schalke miracle run type of situation. And so with BDS only getting harder and harder opposition, their improvement may very well be felt, but they need to be able to secure these wins.
And we do see a trade here as well by BDS. They're not coming up to try and fight the Rift Tower. You saw Gasivo step around and be like, hey, can we do anything here? Instead, they're trading a couple of lost minion waves for also and a late to the half for Maddie and a 13. Maddie with a tiny gold lead down towards that bottom side. XL do still have that Rift Tower in pocket and will be able to get a couple of fights out of it. They have been using Rift Tower mid a lot, even just to get gold into Nuke, because usually you don't take the full tower on that first Rift Tower charge. If you use it mid, we'll see where Markoon decides is the option of choice to now.
I think we're going to take away the Crocs, some of them.
It's the Scion's cap. I've heard Varus say that a few times.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if they're his Crocs or the enemy's Crocs, always
The
his cap.
rules are Crocs belong to top laners. Junglers have to request permission to be able to take them. The only one that is the junglers is the first clip. After that, they belong to the top laner. And the funniest part was Kate will agree. And then he started asking Varus. Varus often said no. Let's have a look at this. BDS rotating up towards mid. Nuke should be safe though.
That's the power of the glacial path, yeah. You just walk your way away, or ice slide your way
Do you
away.
know all champion abilities?
I know all the meta ones. If you gave me like an obscure champion, I'd probably struggle a little bit.
Nami's passive.
Oh, that's not an ability, that's passive.
Oh, so you just don't know them?
I don't usually know. Two shot rush coming out as well. Flat cleanse.
What's he just used there?
That's the deep.
Pretty straightforward double there for Markoon. Patrick finds himself in a little bit of trouble, but he will just ult his way to safety. And XL find themselves another kill. Not really much to explain in that nuclear in kill, just nuclear in. He walked into an area which he had warded, and he was like, I'm fine. And then Markoon just all in him. Power Wukong, the double ult, very difficult to get away from. And unfortunately for nuclear in, he doesn't have TP. So a lot of plates will just be lost. And XL will balloon their goalies. Now they're looking for the dive.
Damage on the Synchrop. Nothing really Synchrop can do in that situation. XL, 3 kills to the good now. You can see Markoon snowballing away in terms of total goal. 1.7k ahead right now. We wondered a little bit about the damage profile for XL, or Markoon supplementing it well from the jungle.
Yeah, and it's one of the terrifying things about Wukong. Not only is he very tanky, he also just does a lot of damage. And yeah, the dive is very clean from XL. They continue to dominate here in the early game. This is more of the typical XL that we're used to, but they don't really have to do anything too crazy. They punished BDS on an early invade. They found some successful picks here in the mid lane, and just a good play overall from XL here in the early game.
Doing a really good job. It's kind of what we expect from XL as well. It's what they've been doing for the majority of summer. BDS still struggling a little bit through the early game. Trying to find something on the map, but XL really aren't giving them too many opportunities. They have consistently been pressuring this bottom side. Spot lane. Patrick, no flash, no cleanse, remember, as the Doty and Synchrop are waiting here. Mickey has no Riftail now, 3 of the top 4 in terms of total gold presented by Santander. Marcoon looks like Patrick sitting very pretty right now. BDS struggling to find a way back into this game. 4,000 gold in the hole now. So that's definitely going to be a tricky one. So just consistently showing us that their early games are something to be feared, even though they have struggled in a couple of their last matchups. Struggled yesterday, of course, against Adlands. No, G2. That's up there yesterday. Rogue, that's thank you. It's all good. Been a long weekend already. We're only in game 1 of day 2.
Important to remember that BDS, I do think, have scaling options. The question is, can they get there? Marcoon going to use this Herald to continue pushing the game forward. I imagine it's going to be dropped top lane. But he's going to get out there.
It's caught the permafrost. Aggressivo does have ult as well. Marcoon caught in the ult now. Spectral more possibility, but on the backline, Maddie's just culled. Patrick takes it down. XL able to pin some movement in. Tidal wave coming out as well. Should be called the tsunami, I'll admit. But the Aquabus are following up. Looks like BDS are just going to retreat.
And another quick pick comes out from XL. And it's kind of been the story of their early game. They haven't really had to do a lot. They've just waited for BDS to make a play, and they've reacted and have consistently come out on top. They're looking for something else here.
If he doesn't have flash away by Adote. Marcoon trying to get into the back lane. There's the Cyclone. Nuclear will flash across the wall. Decoy just short. The re-engage with the Heartbreaker. See, got back with the damage. He can't get up to Marcoon, who already has a Hex Trigger. Patrick stun, cleanses away. Nuke's going to get one in the back of the fray. And XL now with the Reptile can look to push in this top lane. True shot barrage. It's not enough, guys. It's not enough. Marcoon way too healthy for that.
Marcoon not going to drop the Herald to secure the damage. They just going to use the empowered recall to get back to base. As XL walk away. I think that was 2 more kills as they extend the lead ever further. Mickey, the sacrificial lamb of this game, he has been consistently the target, but to be fair, I think he's the only player that BDS can really kill. Marcoon has 6 kills at this point, and yeah, you could argue that Mickey's positioning here a little bit.
Single lane is pushing in XL's favor.
Yeah, it's a one-sided stomp here from XL. Kind of what we expected coming into the matchup. Yeah, one of the top-of-the-table teams competing against the bottom, and XL reaffirming their dominance here in the league. They did struggle yesterday against Rogue, as we talked about. It was a bit of a back and forth in terms of who could throw harder to hoop, and we have a big pack of teams at 4 and 2 today. We expect that to expand to 5 and 2 as our top teams in Europe continue to assert their dominance over everyone else.
I agree with that. It would be interesting to see some of the matchups later to see exactly how it balances out, because of course G2 play up against Fnatic. We'll only have one of those teams being able to find the hitting points. 5 and 2, but a very close battle in our top 5, top 6 positions right now. BDS still struggling to really make their mark on summer. Sure. Sitting at 1 and 5.
The mid jungle definitely has struggled early on in this game. Duck, truth be told, even though he was losing in the push, he was still ahead of farm. And that early gank, I say gank, the early invade, I suppose I should say, from Synchro, ended up getting punished pretty hard from the collapse that came out from Mickey. It just feels like the XL is just so much more responsive when it comes to whatever action is happening on the map. And then in the downtime, they control the space very well. They have good vision control around the mid and bot side of the jungle. You can see that as they secure Drake, Finn is also pushing in the bot wave. Big Duck is securing the top side camps, which means that, hey, there might be a risk of these counter jungling happening for BDS. Nope, can't happen. Big Duck's going to catch this wave. He can then go back to the front if he wants to.
I'm sorry, that's such a mid-laner's way of describing it. He wanted blue buff, so he took it from the cooldown reduction and the man. He's like, no, he's securing the top side to make sure that XL don't lose out on the top side.
Yeah, okay, I'm bringing up the minimap. Here's the minimap. Here we go. Here's some science for you. Right, so normally how cross maps work is if you have control.
Yeah, so the minimap's totally frozen.
Okay.
So it's maybe
Have I broken it? I broke it. Oh
Production. Oh, I'm sorry. What if I press end process? I fixed it. You're welcome, production. Don't mind me. Thank you, fans.
This is why you should never learn science.
It's.
Hang on. Anxiety's dead.
Yes.
Nuked up off the frozen tomb. He'll be able to survive. Seismic shove was already used. Get science by the big ice witch. Oh, Glacier 2's going to come out there as Mickey has to flash away. Chased in by BDS, but they can't really find any much more out of it. And Marcoon and Excel are still able to push in these side lanes, and Nuket's still strong enough to control mid lane by himself.
Excel's just chilling. They really are just chilling.
Because they have a Lissandra?
Yeah, that was the pun. I was hoping you'd notice, but then you brought attention to it, and you basically explained the joke.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Isn't comedy better when you have to explain it? Cyclone goes in, you could have good seismic shove there, counter induce though. Nuked forward. Marcoon goes godlike 7-0-2 now. The man has as many assists as BDS has kills this game.
Yep. That was, well, not very nice from XL, but had to be done. Had to be done. The jungle belongs to the Monkey King. Marcoon will not allow you to enter in his territory. Off the back of that, he will convert it into a baron. There's no smite available on the side of BDS. And XL, they're looking to end this one quick. They have control across the entire map. It has been their dominance from start to finish. As we mentioned earlier, Mickey the only one to die on the side of XL. And even after the relentless ganks that have been thrown towards Patrick, he was always the one walking to safety.
You can see the jungle canyon as well for Marcoon. 5,000 gold ahead just in that role. He's having a storm of a game. Black Cleaver second. Had the Hex Drinker earlier just to give himself a little bit more tankiness in some of those initial trades. Can of course go to the Maw as well if he wants. Relatively strong item these days alongside Death's Dance. But I wonder if we'll even get to third item Wukong stage, or whether we'll start to see with this Baron push. XL totally wrest this game out of BDS's hands. It's just a 2-lane push. BDS trying to answer down towards the bottom side. There are bounties available for them, so they can get a little bit of gold, but it's yeah, not really a sizable enough sum for them ever to find a way back into the matchup through those bounties. They don't even get the tower, so you can capitalize on that small coupon that they could have had.
It would take an egregious error on XL's part for them to lose this game at this point. This type of lead. But just with this type of lead, they just really have no idea what it is.
I've seen G2 moves from this position before, though.
G2's being all okay.
Very good. Zimrock goes in, Marcoon there with the big wave. Placebo looking something as well. That's XL just back away. They know they're in a 4v5 situation right now because Finn is pushing in this top lane. BDS will answer that. They did a good job actually of clearing out the wave, which means XL don't have two waves pushing at the same time, and because they pushed out bot lane, that wave's nowhere near getting towards the inhibitor tower. So BDS are going to hold on for a little bit longer here, but still, with the wave pushing in, Agressiva going forward, cleanse away by Patrick in the turnaround, when the turn gets just so much damage from Nuketech. He lives up to his names and absolutely atomizes them. BDS destroyed in their own base. No way you can stand against the might of XL.
4 members dead on BDS mean that XL have a clear path to the Nexus. Only 2 towers stand in their way, and they won't stand for long.
As the break though yesterday was Butter Black back to 5 and 2.
Straightforward, clean game from start to finish from XL. Very little to say. Just dominance across the board. Great end. Their week 3.
A good pathway towards platinum. I mean, we're just over a third of the way through the split, and they already have more than half of the wins that they had in split.
Who'd have thought? Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
XL. Look at how far they've come, eh?
Look at them.
Look at them.
No one's gonna get that right.
Huge credit, of course, to XL. What's really interesting, as I make this about me, for example.
Oh yeah.
On the Euphoria podcast, we had a bet as to who would be top 3 after the first 3 weeks.
Yamato put XL in because he
Well, we all put Fnatic
because you're
Rogue.
biased towards.
So we all put Fnatic Rogue because Rogue is the safe bet typically during regular season.
Sure.
But it's Fnatic Rogue XL. is what
Yamato
Yamato
and XL,
has.
yeah.
I had Fnatic Rogue Mad.
Okay.
And then Cadril had Fnatic Rogue G2.
Now, what's really interesting is all of those teams are in our top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you're good analysts, right, firstly. Secondly, I think we can get 4 of them. So
yes.
you could, but how does that work?
We could have a winner then, because assuming that Fnatic and Rogue get into the top 3, right?
But if then XL and Mad are there, who wins? You have a loser.
We have a loser.
But you don't have a winner.
And that would be K-Draw.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess I'm a Fnatic fan today.
Apparently so.
Can I vote for your player of the game? Of course, Marku, Nuke, and Mickey. Pretty viable options. Don't give it to Mickey, though. He was the only one that died on XL.
But Mickey's flash into Tycaller's Blessing, into Ebb and Flow is what got Markoon the first kill, and that's what's
time for an interview with Nuke. Take it away,
best. Give it to Mickey.
Thank you, thank you. Nuke, thank you for joining me. Also, congrats on bouncing back from the game you had yesterday. Quick thoughts on the Talia pick, because it's the first time we see the champion as it is since it was reworked.
I think Talia is strong if you can manage to survive early game, because our early game is super weak. So it's just like you pick it and hope that you get through early game.
Right. It didn't work so well here in the game. But talking more about you went for Lissandra here again, and we mentioned that you go more for the push and roam approach here with XL. Why do you feel it's the play style to go with this team and your teammates?
For me, it's, I mean, of course my teammates play well, and like last split, we thought the meta was more, farming, so that's what I was doing. But it just turned out the MSI meta was really push and roam, and then we just adapted to that, and it feels good to play, and overall I think it's better than like try. And like we try to play early game instead of just farming up, so I don't know, it helps. Of course, teammates benefit from it, but also it's. I just think it's strong.
How much do you think we evolved as a player? You've been playing for so long, right, in the LCS and in the LEC recently. But yeah, playing with this player, given that you
what he wants to do, so I understand it well, so I guess, and so I played with him for a while, so I guess, we keep getting better together.
You mentioned the boost camp, and it's something we also mentioned a lot for XL, but what did it bring you as you an experienced players? I mean, I'm just wondering, what can you learn from this type of experience, given the years you play?
I learned a bit more about like how they play, like Asian teams play in mid lane, and I think like the way European players play mid lane is very different. I think in EU, mid laners will like let their team die or give up Herald for 2 CS, whereas in Asia they always try to push and help the team, and I just think it's like better to play like that.
Another huge focus point for XL, I think, has to be Markoon. You're the key player of the game here, of course. What do you think sets him apart from other junglers in the LEC?
I think his strengths are that what shows the most is that he's like willing to kind of like be the carry of the team, and that's so. And we let him do that, and he also knows how to play that style. And I think not many teams and junglers are comfortable with that, so I think that's what like sets him apart from the others.
Alright, and talking about XL in general, I think you're solidifying your position as one of the top teams in the LEC right now. But what do you think should be improved or could be improved for XL in the coming weeks?
I think we just need to stay focused, because I think we play well, but for example yesterday against Rogue, I think we completely just like dropped focus, and that's why we just like threw the game. So I think we need to work on like containing ourselves, not always playing aggressive, and take every game seriously.
And this can be a good reminder sometimes, even for a good team. Nuke, thank you so much for the interview. Congrats on taking down Billy yesterday. And we're gonna take a short break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. SK Gaming Rogue coming up next.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
inspires.
This or that with upset. Blue buff or red buff. Ocean Drake or Mountain Drake. Playing versus Korea or playing versus China.
Korea.
Losing lane or having a losing jungler.
Losing lane.
Losing lane? Losing lane. True. Losing lane. Favorite jungler wins. losing lane 可能 losing jungle 的，选 losing lane， 相信我的打野会 carry。扩大停特别高，其实也是成打野。应该是写了1-2篇，写一般打野说的是没事。
Spaghetti.
I think this is week 4, right?
Week 3. Week 3. Thank you very much. Now, can you please tell us what your name is?
I'm Chris or Liffy. Which team are you supporting after seeing all of their results in week 2? Honestly, I really just want the Cavs to have fun and the better team to win. What was the KDA of the jungler in my last solo queue game? 0.74. No, it was 6. Jungle. Spaghetti.
You've been spaghettied. Off you go.
We need to switch. No, go back to the left. Back to the left to the shirking your duties. Hey, welcome back.
Can I ask what your name is?
My name is Dario or Pumpkin.
And who are you here to support?
Like G2?
What's on his thigh?
It's upside down. So
this is the way.
Now I understand. Whereabouts from?
I'm from Germany.
Now, do you understand the rules of the game?
Yeah, obviously.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
5. Get ready with the spaghetti.
The answer's wrong. Nice try, Pumpy.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, double spaghetti.
Nice try. Bye, Pumpy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hello.
This is pretty rude. You don't even know her name yet, Vedius.
I'm Lilia.
Welcome, Lilia.
Where have you come from today?
From Berlin.
In what week is it? Week 3 of week 3. There we go. Yes, week 3. We ask, which team are you supporting today?
I don't know, I just enjoyed the hype in the studio.
That's really awesome. The team hate. Be honest.
No, honestly.
Be honest.
Anyone.
Okay, so do you understand the rules of the game?
Yeah, I do.
Name 5 top laners
5 top laners.
in alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order.
Spaghetti man, I thought I'd get an easy. Come on, you guys.
That is easy.
Question.
Okay, who played top lane last game?
I'm really sorry to do this, but yeah, you definitely deserve that. Go away.
Hello. Can I ask what your name is?
Lena.
And can we ask who your favorite team is?
Actually, I'm mostly watching AILs, so Prime League.
Ooh, okay.
Who's your favorite team in the Prime League?
I guess Eintracht Spandau.
Do you understand the rules of Medievetti with Confetti or Spaghetti?
Yes, I think so.
How many champions do Medi and Vedi believe have scissors?
5.
There you go. It's 2, obviously.
It's 2.
Gwen and Camille. That's it for Medievetti with Confetti or Spaghetti. What a pleasure it was to be here for week 3.
Week 3.
Be
Spaghetti.
in that quiz at one point. It's really fun, although it seems like you can never win though.
How much do you like spaghetti?
Eating a lot.
Raw spaghetti.
Maybe getting my eye poked out, not
How much
so much.
dainty are we talking about?
Yeah,
here?
exactly. Really cool though. Thank you for that, Medi and Vedi. Totally recorded that this week. Now coming up next, we have Rogue versus SK Gaming. 2 teams with completely different trajectories. Well, one is at the top and one is at the bottom of the standings. And Rogue, in fact, currently has the longest going win streak with 4 in a row. SK has now lost 5 games consecutively. Alex, I am thinking it is time to ring the alarm for SK.
There's a little bit. We raised some concerns for them, particularly yesterday. I mean, we tried to do the Kale Divine Intervention thing, and it just didn't work out for them. Similarly to Spring, they have had a weak showing in the first half of summer compared to that Spring. Their early game isn't working out. They've had some woes in the 2v2, and even though some things had some sparks of hope yesterday, particularly in the way that they approached the draft, it's not been nearly enough yet.
And I know that you actually had a little bit of a discussion when we were preparing this segment about the choices that were made in the draft yesterday for SK Trouble. Outline it for me. Were you a fan or not?
I was a fan, I think specifically because Gadget came into the team, he brought a new flair, as you can see right there, the Karthus Senna came out, treats finally onto the Senna as well, it was a shoving lane, you've got the Lissandra mid, you've got the Camille top, and then the Lee Sin just comes in, and we've even seen Slatan try to play Lee Sin. This champion is just unfortunately not working, he doesn't have the best matchups, and unless you make it really, really snowball heavily in the early game, it just doesn't give you as much as it did in Spring.
Yeah, and I think particularly with that third game with the Lee Sin, I can kind of understand the logic a little bit because they were against the Belveth, which we haven't obviously seen that much of yet. And there are 2 ways which they try and deal with it in that third draft. One is double range bot lane. Belveth's never going to get near you. You put up that wall of pain, you just end up kiting them out. And then the Lee Sin's there to fight them early where they're not really supposed to be interacting. They're supposed to be farming. So I can understand both logics. Feels like they pulled away in separate directions though, and it didn't achieve what they needed to as a team composition.
At the very least, with Gadget coming in now, of course, Jizu is out because he's not feeling up to par. We saw kind of a completely different flair in that bot lane, right? With the Senna and the Karthus, and sometimes that's what you need to shake it up. Wasn't successful for SK, now they're up versus Rogue. Rogue who has been, I want to say, finding their stride as this summer season has kicked off. Not the regular, oh, we'll dominate every game from game 1 in the season, but slowly getting stronger, namely yesterday versus
I feel like Malrank is back in action. Java got pushed out of the meta for a while, especially when the durability patch came through, because it's not as strong. Now he's bringing a new flair on the Java with the Conqueror, taking this 1v1, taking the side lane aggression, trying to get his bot lane ahead. And we do know that if Comba and Trimby do snowball, especially with combos like either the Kalista or the Lucian, Malon was also feeling it very much yesterday, diving in on his own to get the kill far in the towers.
And I know that now Rogue are on a significant win streak, longest in the league, and we have maybe not talked about them that much. I still think that the way that they're playing, it gives me some concerns. They're not winning that confidently with the Java that you were talking about too. I know that on the dance, Cadril and I were kind of going like, well, it's not really that great, and I tried like they're still trying to feel out what their most impactful picks are. It's not quite there yet.
It's quite interesting because it does remind me of when we were singing their praises so much in spring, because there are often things where it's like, oh, Malrang is going for a pick that maybe is suboptimal in other people's eyes, but it works perfectly for Rogue. Maybe he's going for pathing that wouldn't work for other people, but it works perfectly for Rogue. And to me, that feels like a good thing because, yeah, screw what everyone else says. This is how we can win, so we'll do it.
In particular, he brought the first strike Java, no one was trying it. First strike Lee Sin, no one was trying it. Predator Volibear, which is what he was playing over when he was in Diamond here as well. He spotted it in the LCK. Now coming into him, this is the new flair that we asked from him. Of course, that first strike is not as prominent as it was back in spring because of durability bats. Thank you so much. But again, the fact that he brought his Java back, I'm thinking, what else can you bring back from spring? Let's look at something like this.
Yeah, and something that works. Now, this shouldn't be a hiccup for them, right? Daimira, what, if any, chances does SK have? Where should they go?
Chances for SK, I think that they need to be picking themselves much more tools to fight early. I think that's actually what worked for them when they again made that recovery in spring. I think that they found ways to actually play through mid-jungle, actually have some bot lanes that were more self-sufficient too. I don't know how they're going to do that with Gadget. Obviously working in a new player is difficult to work into that whole cohesion, but maybe some of his more unorthodox mage picks can allow them that level of comfort, and allow them to have that platform to play early against Rogue.
Make something happen easy. So the Lee Sin may be something else, but kind of the spirit of that, but with something that you can
Lee Sin, the good
catalyze
champion,
as
right?
well. Yeah, okay. Just no Lee Sin?
Because
No.
I feel like when Gilius looks his strongest, when he's able to jump into the pit and steal your objective
I
straight
saw a
away.
sick kick yesterday, though.
It was a
that doesn't
sick
pay
kick,
the
but there
bills.
was zero follow-up.
Yeah.
The team was just not functioning like
Sorry,
this, right?
we gotta go. I just threw this in there, but yeah, we want to see more than that. Can SK upset Rogue to secure their second win of the season? We're gonna find out with Spaghetti and Betty and Betty and Betty.
And maybe some regretting, depending on how the cast goes.
We'll find
to be
out.
honest. Obviously, that was recorded in week 3.
Right.
That's
Yesterday.
why we just very quick and cheap.
Oh, we found it yesterday. That's why we have different outfits on today.
Oh,
You wore the same outfit yesterday.
Prove it. You can check the broadcast.
The outfit that we wore
Definitely
yesterday.
didn't
we wore-
record it in week 2.
Did stop? Why are you bringing this up? Why?
I like to give him a peek behind the curtain.
You know, if you guys come to the studio, there's a chance that you could be a participant in Medi Betty with
Willing
Spaghetti.
or unwilling?
Not everyone gets a choice. Right, we're going to be playing some music and then we're going to be getting into the draft. So that means the beats dim, the lights flash, the smooth, sultry sounds.
Let's get into it. Rogue on the blue side, SK on the red. We are on 12-12, as we've mentioned a few times. No hot fix, but Rogue will immediately get rid of Amy. There's some presence there. Catman. Catman makes sense. Birdman. Yep.
What we see in Monkey Band.
More zoological.
What we see
No, because when she first came out, she had a Skarner, do you want to hear the voices of your people quote?
Did she?
Anyway, Seraphine got pop singer.
Seraphine came back and improved Callisto's probably great game for us yesterday. Kite Machine is a solo name. So let's see what will they find out. We haven't really been seeing Wukong. Well, we are going to see it today.
That's it, man.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Here's the thing. I think Rogue will do it. They're going to pick Corki in the mid lane for last.
Shout out to that one person in the crowd that loves Corky.
I think there's one person in the world that loves Corki.
They're like, I love scaling.
I mean, in terms of visual identity, Corki's quite a cool champion. But remember, without the helicopter, he'd be nothing. If you lose to Corki in a solo queue game, just remember, you're your own champion and he needs a helicopter to help. Basically cheating.
You can make that argument about every champion. You can say that Senna's not a champion without really trying to catch
Sure, what about Hukar?
auto suit, but it was SK banning it away from them. But I guess they were afraid of the possible center priority.
I mean, Gadget's a huge AP carrying player down to his bottom lane. Like, very well known for his cartas when he was on the world stage and played it yesterday. Did 35% of his team's damage in that game. When being removed, SK trying to make it a little easier for Genex up towards that top side. We're going to get rid of some of the mid lane scalers that can match a Corki later on into the game.
They may even choose to remove the Ahri as well. Depends on if they're concerned about it, because right now SK's only really missing from the jungle. It's like Viego, Volley there, both still available, so you could do Ahri Volley, Ahri Viego, very powerful mid jungle 2v2. Even though there were ever so slight nerfs to Viego, I don't think it's going to
天啊，这次妹都没打过，真假？
the gangplank being removed means that Odo will be a little limited in terms of his options to play up against the Ornn. Kale still exists though. Yeah, but I don't think Odo on main plays Kale. His two options, well, okay, he could play Jace, he could play Akshan, or he could play Sejuani. And I think he's going to play Sejuani.
It would make sense with the comp as well, gives you a bit of engage, gives you a tankier front line.
But I don't think he's good into top. Only because your ultimate just has much less value. I don't think I like this here. I prefer that. Yeah, I prefer that a lot more. Even though Lee Sin, he did get small buffs. I think it was last patch. I don't think he's the strongest jungler, but if it's a choice between Lee Sin and Velvet, I'd like to prefer the more mobile mid laner. And to Velvet, so I can get easily kited against this comp with a bunch of dashes.
I like the Thunder pick here. Gives you an ability to get through that front line. There's the Jace, there's the Kale Hogger as well. That Thunder, of course, subjugate removes a lot of resistances from some of the tanks. He also makes some health as well. There's the Sejuani that you talked about, Benny. And I will say, this is less exciting to me than a Jace or a Kale. That's more exciting.
Getting baited by the hovers.
It's got baited! I got baited and I was smarted!
Okay, Zac top.
Zac jungle, trundle top.
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
That's what I'm feeling right here.
Interesting.
I think it fits into Malrang's heavy gang style as well with the Zac ability to elastic slingshot your way into action.
Okay, I need to do some real quick research on Zac. I can't remember when his last buffs were. Have a quick look at his patch history.
You do that, I'll talk about the fact that Silas was just locked in for SK. Certus yet to play that this summer, but I can see how it would be an okay answer here. You get the subjugate away from the trundle if you want, you have the let's bounce, you have the missiles as well. You steal away from the Corki, can do a lot of work. At the moment, that Zac is sitting in the jungle role, so I think Malrang will sit pretty in his sort of heavy ganking style. Zac very good at doing that, and having Trundle into the Ornn in the top lane, once again, just does what it does in the jungle, but without it being in the jungle.
So, I have questions. I'm not a massive fan of Silas. Oh, hang on, they have put the Zac top, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Zac top, okay.
すみません。少し驚いてしまいまして。まさかプロデューサーさんに誕生日を祝っていただけるとは。覚えていてくださりありがとうございます。とても嬉しいです。私はアイドルとしてまだまだ若輩者ですが、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
標準のこの業界には汚れが溜まってるね。掃除屋の出番のようだ。
お疲れ様です。今日のお仕事はクラシック。 いつもお仕事お疲れ様です。最高の時間にするぜ。
待ち合わせよりも早く着いてしまったら君を思うよひととき街並みどこかにハートつながる誰かがいてくれる奇跡をもし無悪の体験コースター期待しているならごめんよ頑張っているけどあんまり自信はない代わりに Please believe 優しい木漏れ日届け雨の日傘になって見守ろうまどろむ日は Swing your lips 当たり前に君の世界の一部になりたいんだ揺れる葉のように
もっと盛り上げられんだろ。おお
Born to be 未来で優しい木漏れ日届け雨の日傘になって見守ろうまどろむ日は Swing your lips 当たり前に君の世界の一部になりたいんだ揺れる葉のように
まだまだ上を目指せるぜ。最高の時間にするぜ。
待ち合わせよりも早く着いてしまったら君を思うよひととき街並みどこかにハートつながる誰かがいてくれる奇跡をもし無悪の体験コースター期待しているならごめんよ頑張っているけどあんまり自信はない代わりに Please believe 優しい木漏れ日届け雨の日傘になって見守ろうまどろむ日は Swing your lips 当たり前に君の世界の一部になりたいんだ揺れる葉のように
もっと盛り上げられんだろ。おお
「
まだまだ上を目指せるぜ。最高の時間にするぜ。まだまだ上を目指せるぜ。お疲れ様です。今日はオールベリー暗黒最高。日課のお疲れ様。飲み物は買ってきたから。ねえここへ今日
メヒコ。
にゃーこー来る。
オフの日。
プロデューサーさん、番組の最中に蝶々さんたちと話してたところを
あのステージに立てることが当たり前だと思わずにやっ
ヒプノシスマイクオルタナティブラップバトル。
そういえば今日が誕生日だった。そういう。
There's always the possibility of a follow-up from the rest of SK if he's hit by that, and because of that, Marang now.
まだまだ。ここからだろ。ちょいといぜ。はっ。んじゃ、本気出すか。俺に耐えられるか。意義あり。ちょいといくぜ。んじゃ、本気出すか。
その調子。ここからが本番です。集中力を途切らせんよ。
誇りかぶったトランク、俺に負けはねえ。今ではブランク、また向かい合えるならなんて書いてある明日のドカンク。意義あり。なんだよ。
良い反応です。
ここからだろ。
油断は禁物です。これから言うことは嘘ではありません。あなたは素晴らしい。
SK wants to.
よっしゃ。まだまだ。俺に負けはねえ。ここからだろ。
行きますよ。ないです。ちょいと行くぜ。ここからだろ。いい流れですよ。いいや。集中力を途切らせんよ。
誇りかぶったトランク。いいや。退屈かわいまではブランク。また向かい合えるならなんて変えてやるがそのドカン。
ここからが本番です。
俺に負けはねえ。
良い反応です。
よっしゃ。まだまだ。ほら。
行きますよ。素晴らしいですよ。お見それいたしました。
そういえば今日が誕生日だったな。
Garnering information as to where SK were in the mid lane allows him to secure this top tower. 2-0-0, 220. Accelerated rapidly in this game. He's only continuing to get stronger.
To be honest, if there's one button here, I'm going to leave it up for a second so people can have a look at it. This is the one I meant to press. So I wanted to see where Watson is. Total gold. 2,000 gold ahead of the next player, and that's Circus. The trees right down near the bottom. That's one of the weaknesses of playing this fasting setup. You don't get a huge amount of gold, although you do get 8 per stack. He's sitting at 60 stacks, so a 30-point hit now for that AD carry support.
It's a weird situation right now. Obviously, the match state is in control of SK, but I like some of the decisions they made in terms of the tempo.
アンサンブルスターズミュージック。待ってたぞ。今日も一日よろしくな。お、連絡が来てるな。俺が言うのもなんだけど、確認しといた方がいいぞ。
よく来てくれたな。感謝する。
お、連絡が。どうぞご覧くださいませ。
Just dodges away from the Everfrost, only slowed by that one. Gadget looking for a tongue lash, can't quite find it. Zerg steals away the missiles once again, but the Baron should be secured by SK. No steal available for Rose. And SK are well back into this game.
Wow, so SK end up getting the Baron. I think the biggest criticism I have of Rogue's Baron play is they sent the Baron to go and do the draw. The threat and the spike
はっと見上げた羽ばたきの合図で変わり出した世界に気づく。あんな自由で力強い姿なんて僕らはちっぽけなんだろう。最高だね。時々が止まらない。ためらった瞬間、知らず知らずに取り押して数えきれない可能性の前でなぜ僕らは臆病だね。あの風の先をいくら思ってもそこに頑張るで。自分の顔がうまく描けないなら輝くよ。不正な未来でも約束された道じゃなくても焦りもいたその衝動を抑えるなんてできなくなってる。お任せください。今だって言えるほど自信はない。願えば叶うほど甘くもない。バカったふりで常識ぶって繋がれてた鎖も壊す時だ。飛び立つ時間だ。
これや。この手応えが俺の目指してたライブや。どうぞご覧くださいませ。空を待って描く飛行機もまるでそんな奇跡。俺たちの実力を見せて不思議で背伸びしたんじゃろう。少し大人びていたね。なぜかときめく鼓動に合わせて波打ち際で海が誘ってる。完璧とはこういうことを言うのですね。文句のつけようがない素晴らしいライブとなりました。背伸 びはいらない飾らないことばかり心を込めて包んでくラブレター世界中がよそ見してるうちに抜け出せ
準備は完璧だ。さあ気合を入れていくぞ。
今日は君の箱にショコライトのペンで心を込めて送りたいなラブレター俺が笑顔にしてあげるね愛を込めて時に手を貸そうアピール作戦時に一歩引いて付き合うのさいい感じだしてたカラフルしてた笑っちゃうエピソード俺たちの実力を見せてあなたの嘘さにふざけちゃう悪い癖でそういうのもひっくるめて心地いいいつも本当ありがとうね背伸びは飾らないことばかり心を込めて包んでくラブレター世界中がよそ見してるうちに抜け駆けしてさらに参りましょう頑張るでタイミング乗っかってちょっとずつだったかなどうかをお目に見て地上で一番とびきりハッピーな女の子にしてあげるStruggling with Struggling 世界の真ん中に届けるよまだまだ語りないショコラ色の文字がそわそわ半額会いたいってせかしてるなんて次は未来でねこの月はなんと空なんて背伸びは飾らないことばかり心を込めて包んだなラブレター世界中がよそ見してるうちに抜け駆けしてるここは私が
お疲れ様でございます。結果におごることなく精進いたしましょう。
アンデッドとして高らかに歌おう。
遅く焦燥不利なほど燃えるのさ退屈なセオリーに暗してでも打ちかまって沈みゆく太陽闇の炎お目覚めがい連れて行こう夜を咲く半額のテリトリー止まらない人間の魚を大胆をまく距離一人は光放つけて慣れ合いなんて君ほどの価値もないだろうお遊びの終わりが閉じ開けろまた見ぬそのリアル I'm ready to go 大絶命を派手に乗りこなして向かい風に連れをかけろ取り戻せと想像を星を輝くよ まで痛みさえも口に変えて我らこそとことを星を蹴散らして闇の彼方へ赤いだけが強く駆け抜けろ地球へとかも Let's make it the right show
Every single team fight his engages were always on point.
ステージから見たファンの笑顔が忘れられない。いつまでもあの景色が続くように歌を届けよう。
ねえ。ええ。そう。うん。最高に楽しませたるで。
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. We were just having a private chat. I want to talk about Zach. Please tell me what you were just telling me now.
I mean, I never played this champ in scrims really. It was actually first time. Most of the time I just play it in solo queue and on stream whenever I'm bored.
Okay.
And I just felt like this game, it was kind of a free Zac angle because they didn't really have a lot of damage for me, and we needed a bit of engage. And with durability changes and stuff like that, this matchup used to be really, really hard. Wall or kind of easy to just play against Thor. And I don't know, I felt like I had the options to just fix something, like, I don't know, just add another kill in the mix to like all this game.
じゃブリーブすべてが闇に沈む世界またしさへ奪われそうにこれが私の力現在の扉星と火の手かき消した通りFeel my breath 何も取れず明けない夜はない示してもっと行くでよだからもう今は朝を探す旅の途中 Close your eyes, go, go ここでお休み広げて迎え撃つ嵐が描く何も渡さない何も話はしない信じ進めるこの手で守り開く未来の癖 天井に眠るその調子ありし日の夢この地に流れる優しい瞳輝くよ愛の園で愛は確かな愛を受けたいお任せください広げて立ち向かう絆のみその手応えを感じるステージやったなみんなにバルキリーの芸術が伝わった気がするわ
射してゆくそういうハートのシンメトリー1秒ごと形を変えてどんな
完璧なステージを届けるで。
届けるで。
And Odo, thank you so much for the interview. Congrats.
ハートのシンメトリー1秒ごと形を変えてどんな未来にたどり着く合わせ鏡の埋葬君の本音聞かせてほしいから Just be yourself やってきな色を変えてみたり違う自分やってみたりして飲んでらしさなから回り俺は逃げるしかない顔でひび割れた鏡越しね心見せて俺は君は俺で乱反射してゆく頑張るでハートのシンメトリー1秒ごと形を変えてどんな答えを探してる傷つかないで埋葬君は君で輝いてほしいからJust be yourself Yes, take it out お互いがちぐはぐになってるってわかるね楽しくて苦しくてもっといくで伝わってくるのに痛いくらいハートのシンメトリー1秒ごと形を変えてどんな自分を探してる合わせ鏡の埋葬どんな君も宝物だからJust be yourself
私、気分が高揚しております。とても素晴らしいライブでした。
俺のラブいところを見せちゃうよ
アイドルのみんな集まれ今日も元気に始めるよアンサンブル隊長キラキラのアイドルに君だってなれるが元気よくかっこよく走り決めポーズインスピレーションが来た嬉しくなってきたら手を叩こうリズムの森の中飛び回れぐるぐる回せたら目が回るここは任せろみたいにゆらゆらに上手に歌う準備運動視界を大きく深呼吸リラックスアイドルになるためのレッスンのアンサンブルできるかなやってみようライブパフォーマンス
驚かせたねもっと行くで
いろいろあるぞ んだ犬の尻尾みたいにね。大きく両手を振ってアピールしよう。カンガルーやウサギのように一斉のでじゃん。もちろんいつでも笑顔でね。ドキドキそれは胸が踊ってるんだ。ワクワクそれは心が歌ってる。アイドルそれは君のキラキラを輝かせることなんだ。キラキラのアイドルに君だってなれるか。楽しいかい楽しいよ。さあご覧ください。教えるよみんなで目指そうよ。
これや。この手応えが俺の目指してたライブや。
ドキドキがきらめいて星になるんだよきっとね。恋してる人の片手集まって泡の川になる。
最高に楽しませたるで。
どんな気持ち大好きな人に触れた時嬉しいよね。胸がキュッてして曲になるよ。みんなもそうだよね。一年の誇りにかけてこの夜だけしか巡り会えない。お星様今はちょっとだけ気持ちがわかるよ。早く会いたい。なんですのステージで飛び跳ねるウサギみたいなんだ。僕のこのハートがぴょんぴょんってね。ドキドキがきらめいて星になるんだよきっとね。恋してる人の片手集まって泡の川になるんだって。その想い届くように願い求めて知るとメロディーの歌詞をかけよう。鳥のようにメッセージ羽ばたかせ。頑張るで。届くように今はまだ届かなくてもこの気持ち届くかな。いつかね届く。どうか輝くよ。きらめいて星になるんだよきっとね。メロディーの橋をかけよう。素敵に出会うためのおまじない。お任せください。待っててね。
俺たちの愛がみんなに届いたね。
さと定めよう。舞い落ちる勇気の粒で奇跡一つ。
拍手の音がまだ聞こえるぞ。アイドル冥利に尽きるな。お、連絡が来てるな。
仕事だね。行ってくるよ。
どうだったかな。一生懸命頑張ったんだけど。
それではよろしくお願いいたします。自身の成長にもつながるお仕事でした。よし、始めよう。今日は調子がいいみたいだ。次の仕事に行こう。ご期待に応えられるよう力を尽くしましょう。
お仕事中にいい情報もゲットしちゃった。 スマホで調べておこうっと。
君に言われた通りやってみたんだけど、どうかな。ご期待に応えられるよう力を尽くしましょう。自身の成長にもつながるお仕事でした。仕事だね。行ってくるよ。君に言われた通りやってみたんだけど、どうかな。よし、始めよう。今日は調子がいいみたいだ。次の仕事に行こ
う。事前にスマホで調べておこうっと。
身の成長にもつながるお仕事でした。ご期待に応えられるよう力を尽くしましょう。君に言われた通りやってみたんだけど、どうかな。
お前宛ての連絡があるみたいだぞ。面白いことなら後で俺にも教えてくれよ。お前宛ての連絡があるみたいだぞ。面白いことなら後で。頭を使う仕事より体ハイタッチこうやってくれ合うと。お、連絡が来てるな。俺が言うのもなんだけど確認しといた方がいいぞ。
Second, and they're going to look for Labrov as well. They don't have flash, so there's no gap close. I just talk about Ross's Astralis. Such a surprise coming into summer. Such a difference from spring. I think they can dash away here. Could be mind map the flash though. We'll see what happens. For it. Now trying to lock down Labrov. That might not be enough to launch away. Not be able to finish it overall.
Ensemble Stars Music.
今日もよろしくね、プロデューサー。
しっかりこなしてくれ。
どうだ、今日の俺は完璧だっただろ。宇宙、今日もよろしくな。どうだ、今日の俺は完璧だっただろ。宇宙、今日もよろしくな。どうだ、今日の俺は完璧だっただろ。
仕事の話？ちょっと待って。茨に確認してもいいかな。
次は何の仕事が入るかな。どんな仕事でも。
夕食はする。先日鳴神くんに会いましたが、
テレビ局って通路が複雑に入り組んでて迷路みたい。いっつも迷子になりそうになるんだよね。さあ、みんなにキラキラしたライブを届けに行こう。
So Astralis already pulling the trigger on these plays, and it looks like Astralis know they see them running through mid. Maybe they want to avoid this fight for now. Bit of a tough decision for both teams if they want to take it. If you could look at both of the weapons on this page, I think pushing into the heavy, so what's happening here is Chachi leading gold, but look at the longer this goes on, the more What happens when you walk into darkness? Perks thought they could find an angle, maybe find a pick out of the Herald Falls.
なんて素晴らしい景色なんだ。
Couple minutes of play, fantastic patience, great setup.
同じ景色を見ていたのだ。 さーて、お客さん俺の虜にしちゃおうかな。
So this early to mid-game transition, Astralis in the driver's seat. They're the ones making the plays. They're the ones taking the reins of this game so far. Vitality had a lot of options. You know, when that Herald is dying and you can't contest topside, they could have set up for some kind of dragon play. Setup the 5 versus 3 under tower. Look at where Haru and Alfaria are. They thought they could just get a clean dive off. Instead it backfires. They don't get the tower. They give up 2 kills and they're going to lose their pot tower.
暁のメンバーとしてその名に恥じぬステージであった。
They are holding Haru in the mid lane, but we know how risky it is to dive. We talked to teams about this, yes, early game for the other game.
俺たちの歌声を響かせよう。
It will all fall apart instantly, and everyone watching this can see the idea. If the Rakan, you get the Ornn, and if Tom Kench doesn't push R, yeah, that's a different dive. But luckily, LeBron, flawless timing, manages to get it off.
here because he is doing so. Cirque is around, but Alfaro is dominating this lane, gets knocked up. The knockup. The ulti going to come out. Alfaro running. Has to keep his eyes out though, and totally flashes away.
なんて素晴らしい景色なんだ。
There's a truck still suffering here. This is a big thing.
同じ景色を見てきた。 夕食は済みましたか。この後のレッスンですが。おはようございます。
今日の撮影は手応えあったよ。衣装がキラキラでさ、こういうのたくさん着させてもらえて楽しい。
Saving it for Dragon or any kind of mid push. Maybe they think that the gold here is just way more important, and they're gonna get this, rightfully so. I don't think Astralis can really answer this with any engage. I don't think the Yor can get full power either. Doesn't have the damage. Are they gonna keep going here? Maybe they can force a tier 3 or at least get the crash. Maybe hoping to get the team out of the Yor. Crash will happen. Should be instantly deleted after that. At least a little bit of damage. On the inhibitor tower, and Yor not quite enough of a way for him to do anything here on the bottom side. Well played by Vitality. Extending that gold lead, 1.8k in their favor. Kabe is really trying to kill that Tomcat to the win. Farms is deceptively. Definitely is. Dragon's up. See what Astralis do. Okay, so TP top by first. Their engagement. RZ going for the charm. Isn't able to hit the Tomcat. Maybe they can just keep this going as long as the ulti comes out, spinning him out, but he's right in the waiting arms of Astralis. That's what they wanted to do in the top lane. And it's better late than never, because now they're barreling down to the mid lane tower. Perks on the top side, already breaking open that inhibitor line. So why is Perks TP top here? He wants to tier 3 to open up an in-reach so they can pressure that later on, but it's 7 minutes of gold at this point. But Dragon's up and you're both on the and doing some big miscommunication there. At first, with Alfaro TP bot, it looks like they want to protect Dragon. Bit of a messy exchange, I think. Just on the first whistle, this in. Getting engaged on the mid is when their job was just to be away from it, just to be a weak side. I wonder if the Stars will kind of warn.
さーて、お客さん俺の虜にしちゃおうかな。
Astralis now Vitality with Perks in mid, trying to siege this mid tier 1. Cirque will show for the win.
暗闇のまとわりついた谷底で空を仰いでいた乾く汽車心が欲しいものも知らず
どうよ覚悟はええか
なぜかな光手を伸ばして星がささやいだノーションで這い上がればいいそれをよそうと人は呼ぶのさ触らせられた感情という壁を壊して未知の世界へ羽ばたくため求めるものが翼ブレイクより想像さえ超えて進めばいい漆黒を切り裂いて光あれその瞳が見据えた先を照らす輝きを届けるんだ積み上げ落ちるその手で目標が実は希望だろう夢に食らいついて儚けない願い期待してこの未来を信じ込んだ終わらない迷いを断ち切って振り返って構いやしないあがって叶えればいいそこから抜けなきゃ見えないさおにで想像さえ捨てて進め めばいい漆黒を切り裂いて光あれその瞳が見つけた明日へ向かってけ想像の
ついてこれるか
探せばいいたった一つの答え積み合わせそう超えてゆけ遥かなる空を仰ぎ見て
最高また一つ見られたステージだったね
ういっすああ
距離に想像さえ超えて進めばいい漆黒を切り裂いて
頭を使う仕事より体を使う仕事の方が好きだな運動系のバラエティ番組とか楽しいよね今日も頑張ってたねゆっくり休んでまた明日もよろしくねおやすみ
As long as they don't overforce here, they can still turn for the Baron, and they're now running back. Haru, 7 seconds. Carzy, 7 seconds. It's counting down to the Baron in the sights of Astralis.
They're running out of time. They can't do the Baron, it looks like, but maybe they can bait Vitality. Vitality's thinking they are on it. The blue orb is going to buy them some time, so Vitality haven't got it up yet, but are they sure is the question. Do they want to know? Haru's going to get the sweeper. They're not so sure yet. Kobe shows himself.
Going for it again. If it worked once, why not try it again? Going for the picks, but the snare does not connect on the perks, and that's big. Jungle is so low, they burned everything. There's no more gas in the tank. Here comes the rest of the team. Visit Chachi on the backside, but he's running. Carzy now on the hunt. All of Astralis is getting picked apart. They were so confident, but now they're overconfident. Visit Chachi gets taken down, and Vitality are back in control.
Can Vitality go back now? It's the question. I think if the answer is no, they don't have the damage to do it, so they're just going to try and take away some camps, get some vision on topside jungle, maybe get this mid-tier one that they've been looking for so long. And Astralis just overstaying a little bit. 2 incredible picks. If they just turn towards the Baron instantly, you have to wonder if they would have just been able to pick it up, and if Vitality contested, the Rakan ult would have been enough to stop them from doing so. Regardless, Vitality get a kill, they stop the Baron, and they get a tower. So, game still in quite an even state.
And this is, again, I think, well, I'll say it one more time and I'll just drop it after this because I think it's so nice to see it. But this is not what I expected on our docket when you told me Astralis Vitality. If you told me we were going to have a game like this in Astralis Vitality, I assumed you were telling me we were going to start casting CS. Instead, here we are. A team full of veterans. Astralis putting the pieces together from an old Splice roster. They already did that one. We can't do that one.
Oh, did they do that already? So here's the replay of Astralis looking for the pick. Younghoon had flash, and I think he wants a flash knock up Perks here, but Perks just dashes away with the ult. And then this is where the damage comes in. Senna ult, Alfari is dishing out so much damage as well with the Hyper, and then Astralis, yeah, been waiting too much time here. Chachi is looking for a flank behind. I wonder if he TP'd in, I'm not so sure. Regardless, he dies. And then, yeah, Vitality get their pick, and they get the tower. So, Vitality struggling in team fights, but picks will always help regain control of the map, which stops them from having to face check, because we've seen what kind of dangers lie in wait in the fog of war every time Perks tries to find his way in, but now they have the vision. They're not so scared. They can contest these mid waves a little bit more. 2 stopwatches picked up for Astralis on their mid jungle. You're diving in, just wants to buy time. I think Vitality's Baron is incredibly slow, so starting it up is quite a pain. 1 minute 50 seconds on the Dragon. It looks like Yora's going to pressure this bot tier 2. Lebrov's going to engage mid.
Forward. Jungle trying to block as much as he can. Kabe, I think if the ultimate out early could make the fight that much easier. Haru interrupted. Johnson Queen ulti now coming in. Kabe getting delayed now. So many feathers. The pullback not going to matter too much here. Jungle does finally fall. Dayor off to the side. Perks preparing for that kill. But Chachi going for the knockup, but it's a perfect stopwatch to buy a bit more time. And no, he gets interrupted. He can't knock up Perks. Perks now running. Still standing. Absolute out execution from the side of Vitality. They obliterate Astralis.
There it is. The dream fight for Vitality. One after one after one. They fall into the jaws of Vitality. Alfari massive Meganar at the end there. Incredible knock by Haru to stop the knock up from Orin to get Perks. And now they're going to get themselves the Baron. Bot tier 2 did fall for Astralis. We'll see if Circe can contest this. He has ult and flash, but he only has 1 pink ward. Lebrov and Alfari are going to be the ones zoning him away. I feel like Vitality might need a little bit more damage on this Baron if Alfari can help out. 15 seconds on Chachi's TP. Younghoon on the way. The longer they wait, the worse it gets.
Lower.
Circe can get closer and closer because he has more and more backup on the way. Alfari and Lebrov want the kill now.
Circe now going for the fight. If he can turn this back, maybe they get something up. In the meantime, the Baron is falling. Because this 2v2 is going on, the Baron is sure to fall in the favor of Vitality. They'll grab a kill as well. Beautifully executed.
Definitely was. No hesitation there from Vitality. They knew their limits. They knew the 3-man could get the Baron. So zone away the jungler as fast as possible, and they pick up Younghoon as a little gift. 30 seconds on the Dragon. Vitality already have 2. That'll put them on soul point. And with Younghoon being dead, I think Vitality will be first to the objective. Ultimates will be coming back up. 3 items strong on Karzi. Perks spiking incredibly hard here, and it all comes to the back of Lebrov looking for an engage with Tom Kench. Younghoon tries to knock him up, but he's unstoppable. And then Lebrov eats up Haru, and then watch Younghoon. He just gets instantly popped by Perks. 45 begins. Now Astralis' target is Perks. Pops to Zoniaz. Now watch Haru's E here. As Chachi dives forwards, he pulls him back to stop the knockup, which Kobe could instantly kill Perks from. Doesn't have the range. Knock up onto Kobe. Alfari, Meganar, ult flash into the wall. Dream fight. Circe couldn't even find his way in.
Such a difficult fight. Circe didn't really get to do a whole lot. Kabe didn't really get to do a whole lot. Well executed by the side of Vitality, shutting down the 2 strongest members in the team, arguably, alongside Dayor. We'll see what they can do now with this push, with this pressure of Karzi. 111 souls and still stacking. Should be a pretty easy siege, especially now that he has the rapid fire cannon as well. Heralding in these Baron empowered minions. Need to break down an exposed inhibitor on the top lane as well. Could be a problem, but Vitality not worried about it quite yet.
The range on Karzi, especially with that rapid fire too. Circe is trying to find an angle here, looking for a stun. Cannon minions are blocking it right now. Alfari, Vitality's just playing a 1-4 here. Very easy setup to do because Alfari is so close to the 4 that even if they get engaged on, he can just run across and help them out. So Astralis trying to defend bot. They have to commit numbers to do so. Means Alfari can get the mid tower. Now the 1-4 continues. Cannon minions battering down that tier 3. The second that falls, there's already an open inhibitor top, so that'll be 2 towers down on the Nexus. On the inhibitor, sorry. And now Vitality still finds Circe. He gets spotted out after the E falls off. Meganar procced. 3 cannons now hitting this inhibitor.
We're coming to the final moments. What could be the deciding fight in this game. Astralis know at some point they're going to have to commit. They could lose all 3 inhibitors on this push if they don't go for it. And now they're getting chipped away. Perk's not going to let them find the fight that they want. They're going to force it instead. They're not playing to lose. They're playing to win here. Younghoon now stepping forward. Maybe this is it. Maybe they can find the opportunity. Ornal going across. They're looking to knock down LeBron before the fight even kicks off. It's going to be a positive start. Circe now picking up the catfish, and he's all but unkillable. Younghoon with the Chachi backing off. Now this Comtench going to step forward, but it's still getting chipped down here. Perk's going to look for the charm. Unstoppable as he leaps out. There's a Chachi. He can go for the flank, but there's no one there to back him out. Run, Chachi, run!
Can he get away? Perks wants to hit the charm. He has flash as well. I think Chachi's going to die here. He's a fast Orin though. I think he's got Ghost on.
And you understand what he was thinking. At the start of that TP, it was a great play. By the end of that TP channel, it was a very, very bad play. Now he's slowly but surely going to get run down. Knockup does not quite connect onto Alfari. Rest of the team instead pushing down mid, trying to buy time, trying to buy space. There's in the area just to increase, but Vitality. A bit messy in the mid game. Here in the late game, though, it has been clean.
Yeah, good news. Hang on a second. Haru, a little bit too deep here. Does have the ultimate.
Not going to connect. Good movement. Does see Xerxes there, and now the rest of the team going to walk away.
Yeah, so good news for Astralis, they stopped the siege. Bad news for Astralis is they lost their breath inhibitor, and mid and top are exposed. You can see the pings from Vitality there everywhere a bit. 2 minutes 30 seconds on the next dragon. Vitality's just going to ult base here, re-establish some map control, get a lot of spikes coming in, and then try to set up vision on one side of the map. Astralis looking for a pick, looking for a red buff. I think they'll take this one away. LeBron will spot them out, so nothing to be scared of for the rest of the members of Vitality. And deep vision acquired. We'll see if Karzi sweeps that out. Pings on the top side to see if Vitality want to look for vision there. And it all starts with Perks dashing over this wall. They have enough damage to kill Chachi, but he just about escapes with very little health. I think he dashes here and then gets the ult off. Now, he wants to time his ult perfectly here, the Orin ult, to knock out the Senna. So Chachi waits a bit, tosses it out, Karzi flashes it, Labrov's the target, he falls, and then when he does, he gives Astralis a lot of frontline. Chachi not being there, frontline's gone, Xerxes taking a time cage, frontline's back.
Yep. And I really love that he goes for the engage there, because instead you're just waiting for Astralis to engage on you. And because he forces something, yes, it does cost Labrov's life, but ultimately means they're able to get the objectives that they want, and they don't really risk getting the 5-man turnaround that could put Astralis out.
Yeah, it was the TP move speed actually, excuse me, it wasn't the ghost. So anyway, Chachi is back with his team here, and Vitality obviously don't have the Baron buff. 1 minute 30 seconds on Dragon, but I think Vitality want to take this top inhibitor. They want to siege it, they want to find a pick. Needs to be careful of Xerxes, hidden in the shroud, looks for the stun, but Perks is there to respond, and now does Yonghoon engage.
It's going to be big, but they need the damage to follow it up. It's just so hard to play this game out now. Such big individual leads across the board. Xerxes now trying to pitch for a little bit something. John into the back, it's a 3-man ult. Now here comes Vizichaki looking for the follow-up. Perks goes into stasis one more time and dodges out on so many spells. Astralis standing strong for now, pushing Vitality away. But they've burned all their major cooldowns. They are a teamfight composition without ultimates, and they are standing weakened in their own base.
I don't think the engage can get much better than that. Vitality can get 3 inhibitors here, so Astralis have basically nothing left. They're just stranded on their nexus. And Vitality can just wait for these waves to come in. The correct call, you imagine, would just be to go to Dragon and then restart the siege when all the super minions come in, because they're just so far away. But it looks like Vitality have the confidence with this pot wave coming in to find an end. The only issue is no one really has ults other than Alfari and Xerxes. Astralis want to find some kind of target to hit, because Comet does do a lot of damage. Alfari has the mega.
Down, Alfari, flash up and available, can step forward if they group up too much. Picking up the boulder, can just throw it again. See if there's anything else that they can do here. Astralis, final moment, sleep in, knock back into the wall, only hitting one. Kave doing a decent amount of damage on Alfari. Haru, eyes set on the tower for now, as the rest of Vitality are retreating, but they stand uncontested here. Astralis, yes, they can pick these small individual skirmishers, but when it comes to the full 5v5, they cannot stand toe-to-toe with the team. Dayor stepping forward, Vizichaki going in, Joku finding all the knockups that he can. Kave just now starting to auto-attack, but it's too little, too late. Vitality playing on the edge of madness. Individual skill showing through as they put their champions at the absolute limit here. Pressing their advantages, finding the win, taking down Astralis.
Wow, so they could clear it out in just one more wave. A couple came through mid and top, but when the 3 inhibitors fell, it was all but done. That was really the nail in the coffin for Astralis. They had to find a last stand. Vitality didn't give it to them. They were playing with their food at the end there, and they got a couple of kills before they got the Nexus.
Well played by the side of Vitality. Again, surprisingly close matchup in the standings. Vitality coming out on top today. Cleaning up a lot, it feels like, over these first few weeks. We'll see how far they can rise in the standings in the weeks to come.
Yeah. And I think Astralis early game was great. We saw the way they moved around the map. They saw the way they played around Vision and Yonghoon's base timers to get the Herald. It was just, they scuffed the play top, gave Vitality a way back in, and Vitality the second game finished, just looked like it kind of gave them a mile. There were moments where Astralis had to fight back. They were always down in gold, but the team fights looked like they were going in their favor. But then that one mid lane fight where LeBron looked to engage himself, ended up in 4-0, ended up in a Baron. It's so hard to come back to that.
I also want to call out the stopwatch and eventual Zanya's use from Perks, the one that Haru backed him up to cancel away. A lot of the individual mechanical plays in this game to interrupt what is a very powerful engage combo inside of Astralis was excellent. It was absolutely flawless. I think rarely we see so much value from a single stopwatch or hourglass, but it's those little individual things that are what makes Vitality a scary team.
And you can see that in the stats from lane phase, right? We talk about Vitality, their lanes are always winning ahead in CS. If you classify that as winning, right? Whether whether it's the matchups, you know, the knock was ahead. We saw yesterday as well, they had CSVs no lanes. And all of their players are first, second, or third in their lane. The confidence of the creeps, and that's the powerhouse and the power of the lane is just coming together. It just looked like they were really not on the same page, but this time around, it looks like a clear plan for finding their fights, and they managed to overcome Astralis.
And you should develop a clear plan to head on over to Twitter at LEC, Alfari Perks Labrov, your options for Kia Player of the Game.
Alfari had a pretty quiet game, but he did so much work.
It's Labrov or Perks, I think, because Alfari had a great game individually, but the two plays that mattered most were Ari on the top side alongside Labrov, saving the center, turning that dive, and some of the plays around mid where Labrov was aggressive.
The mechanical plays, the small things that count. They add up to the big ones. See that stop, saves first, which gets you back, which gets you an enter, which gets you domino effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. It's why it's so hard to dissect a League of Legends game. You pick any one decision and talk about what you could have done differently, but it's an infinite tree of potential decisions.
The tree of decisions.
Tree. Wow, we're getting weird. Well, as we wait for the interview to be set up, just a quick reminder to grab your tickets for the LEC Summer Finals now at lec.gg/Malmo. I didn't pronounce it right because it does it on Twitter.
lec.gg/Malmo.
But with the thing not there. Stupid American pronunciation because there's no umlaut over that O. So
is it an umlaut?
I think it's an umlaut. My American is showing a lot right now.
I don't know what the name for umlaut is in English.
Okay. Anyway,
dots.
Lord, standing by with Mephisto. Let's learn more about things that aren't umlauts.
Thank you, Dracos. And Mephisto, thank you for joining me after this game. Congrats on taking down Astralis. A close matchup.
It was pretty sweaty.
How would you describe the game? How was it watching it from backstage?
Very messy.
Yeah.
But thanks to the experience of our players, we were able to make really good decisions from behind. And I think we had a bit of help from the enemy team as well, not being very decisive. But we toyed with them really well, and we cancelled their breakthroughs into the game, and then we found our fights. And when we find breakthroughs, we actually make them play really hard for them.
One thing that we noticed throughout the week is especially the fact that Labrov has been playing really well. He's been playing well all year, but even better this week, I feel. Do you see any change in his playstyle and the way he approaches the game?
I think Labrov is very happy to play in the team, and I think overall he's maturing as a player, and I'm really happy to see his progress, and he's making a lot of really good calls in the games as well. So, just fantastic game as well. Yesterday and today for Labrov.
That was fantastic for sure. But maybe a couple words about the meta being so diverse on the bot lane. Do you think it's benefiting Vitality's bot lane right now?
Come again?
Do you think the fact that the meta is really fast right now on the bot lane and you can play so many champions is benefiting Vitality?
Not especially. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're a very good bot lane, but I don't think the fact that there's so many options favors us that much. No.
All right, and now it's week 3. We're gonna have a break next week, of course, but so far you guys didn't manage to beat the top teams, only the teams that are beneath you. How do you explain that, and what is missing for Vitality to step up their game and play at the level that's expected of them?
Simply time. I think we need time to play together and time to play on stage together and find our way to play the game as a team. That's all.
I think the Vitality's team especially came in with a lot of expectations given the names on this roster, of course. It gets even worse in a sense, bringing horror in given the palmarès that he has and the fact that he's a world champion basically. How are you managing players' expectations this time, as you said, and show up results?
We're getting there. We're starting to stack a couple wins, right? We're 1-3. We're getting there. The week after the break, we face Rogue and Fnatic, and we're looking to actually start beating the top team, right?
All right. Bon. Let's see how this break week can benefit you guys. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
So more to say about this game, though. So back to you, Sharks.
Thank you very much, Nora. I love that you said boom. That was very telling. Really guarded there, Mephisto, and I think that is fair as well. Saying, well, hey, it's not like we're incredibly behind other teams. It's not like we're fighting and so far from the top either, and I think that is fair. And they did win this game, so I'd love to know what my analyst thinks. Bedius has joined us as well, because when I look at this game, I'm like, not good in the beginning, obviously, for Vitality, especially on that bot. But then they ended up winning by playing to their strengths, so what can you really say?
Wow, there's a lot of things I could say. Let's start by talking about the drafts a little bit, because I think that one of the things we discussed a lot backstage was it seems that this weekend Vitality's game plan was we want to play a little bit more for our jungler. I had the opportunity to speak to Burks on the analyst desk yesterday, and he was talking about that, in particular with the Bel'Veth, one of their game plans was to funnel resources more into him, and part of that is drafting stable, reliable laners. Prioritizing the Ahri gives you very stable mids, to the Ornn gives you stability, and with the Senator and Kench, basically you have good scaling, good team fighting, well-rounded comp that can also play for your jungler.
It's also just meant to be hard to exploit. It's meant to be one of these lanes which, if you do throw a lot of resources at it, it's meant to be able to take that. Of course, Astralis on the other side still gave it a good shot.
Let's talk about then also a question that Lore posed them in terms of bot lane and kind of the versatility. Carzzy is someone that I remember that they used to actually do some wacky stuff together with Kaiser where they were on man, but he said we're not necessarily going to use that to our advantage, or it doesn't fit us as well. Let's talk about the bot lane in general, Nymira. What is going wrong there for Vitality?
So, I mean, first to give them a little bit of credit, they actually have been ahead in CS, I believe, in every game up until this one. They've had some presence down there, but it's just felt like in terms of making sure that they are aware that they're not going to get jungle help, particularly in this game as well. Okay. That needs to influence the way that they're playing around their waves and how they understand how safely they can play. I'm not sure they completely found that in this game. I think that when we look at Carzzy's history, his standout moments have been performances and side performances, basically like the clutch moments when he tends to shine, whereas in the regular season we often see positional mistakes, his laning can be a little bit inconsistent. That was true even when he was laning with Kaiser, for example, and I think that today we did see some of that inconsistency, but Astralis also looked to when we look at Astralis' comp, their whole game plan is very much diving and team fighting. They would consistently stack up as 5, and while this dive in and of itself wasn't executed well, the principle and idea behind it was good for Astralis. And on the side of Astralis, they had to get things out of this. They were drawing this Ornn away from the sidelines. He was giving a big individual advantage to that Nah, so they were almost like obligated to get those big engages. So when they failed, obviously, in that top lane, that made things a little awkward. But credit to them for sticking to it. It was the one place where it felt like they really could get those advantages, and they started to make Vitality worry in the early to mid game. And that clearly really is not only the positioning mistakes that we do see during the regular season, but also Astralis' game plan coming into fruition of that constant grouping and attacking and leveraging their comp. And it was simple, straightforward, easy to execute. And I think that they were in a really good spot for the majority of the game.
They actually were. This has happened a couple of times from Astralis, unfortunately. Talk to me about that in the mid-game. How does Astralis manage to give it back away, and where do Vitality take the reins, and how?
So it did feel to me like, particularly when you're dealing with a Rakan and a Vex who are typically going into the fight, you need to be able to end the fight fairly quickly in terms of the initial cooldowns you're using. You're stuck in the fight after that point. I feel like there was a point where the Vex wasn't quite reaching those burst cooldowns and wasn't hitting the targets that they needed to, which allowed Vitality to just reset, play around something like Xayah Feathers, sorry, no, the other side, play around the Senator Kench rather. Silver Clay, I think you're diving into them, right? And once Astralis had used that initial round of cooldowns, it just got very awkward for them to try and commit to a longer fight. I feel like Vitality just got a fight that was on their terms. For the vast majority of the game, to me, it felt like Astralis was the ones forcing the fights. They were grouping as 5, they were the first to collapse, whereas this fight was the first time where Ornn was actually in a side lane with Alphari, and Vitality was saying, this is our window, go now, and the TPs came in at the right time, the execution was good, and I think that, as the coach was saying, it comes down to that experience. Vitality saw that window, that small pop, where Astralis had left something open, and Vitality were very quick to punish. And it's a bit of a painful reminder of what happened the last time these two met in the last regular season game they played in spring, where you had there on that Vex, just couldn't quite get the kills, couldn't quite get the angle. See in that very last replay, Perkz ends up just calculating it, knows they're going to survive, ends up turning around. They were stuck in the middle, and in the middle of the team, can't really do their role in that team fight.
Frustrating, I gotta say, of course, for Astralis, and a great win for Vitality, especially when you look at the context of the standings that we have now and how we introed this game, being that 6th coveted spot right now that Vitality currently possesses also here, but that's the way they got into the playoffs as well. So what is our feeling about these two teams and their possibilities?
I mean, truth be told, I think that Vitality is just barely better than Astralis right now. I think that if Astralis can actually be on an upward trajectory the next time they rematch, if Vitality haven't shown significant improvements in both their early game and their mid game, I am concerned for this roster, and I don't think we've really seen this team necessarily improve that much from the last split to this split, even with the introduction of Haru. And if their argument now is we want to play more for jungle, Selfmade was one of the best carry junglers that we used to have in our league, and I thought the whole point was moving away from that and actually playing more lane-centric style. So I have a lot of question marks about Vitality.
You actually let me listen to a snippet from Selfmade stream.
Yes.
This fits perfectly, actually.
Yeah, so Selfmade was talking about it on his stream, saying, well, of course Harry's not the problem. Changing anyone into this team is going to be difficult. It was, trying to change up a system where it's just...
He basically said you could put Tian in there. That's what he said. And it wouldn't change anything. That was the exact words, I think, on the stream.
And I think, we're really starting to see it. Ultimately, the jungle... To me, I don't necessarily think the Selfmade was a problem. I don't think that Harry solved their problems, and I think that
I feel actually quite... I mean, actually, this is good, because they won the game, but it's because of our expectations, right? They are just sky high.
It's also just after last split, I was under the impression that they had a clear idea of what was wrong. They used the off-season to fix it, and they were going to come in better. But I feel like that right now, they're exactly where they were last split.
Actually, Alfari will be joining us for the intro to the next thing, so we'll actually pose him that question directly.
Nice.
Because he's heard everything, and I'm sure he's...
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so after the break, we will have Alfari join us for picks and bans at the desk for Mad Lions versus Misfits. Don't go anywhere.
Really inspirational. And here we go, he's looking for something. What? He moved! This man is on fire! That's the kind of play that makes me want to be on stage. Hold on. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell me, how do you feel after making that play?
esports just yesterday. They're up versus Misfits. I also have a very special guest, Trouble and Alfari. Alfari, you watched the whole previous segment, and you are 2-0 this week. So is there anything you'd like to say?
So BDS was saying that we were not a different team to last split. So I don't disagree that maybe we're not better, but we are actually a lot different. Whereas last split, we were good early game and really bad mid-late. I think that now it's like a bit the opposite. So for that reason, BDS is absolutely wrong. But as to whether that makes us better or not, I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. Just what matters is he's wrong.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. Well, what matters is he's wrong. You are 2-0, so there we go. Let's talk about the match up ahead. It is Misfits versus the Mad Lions. Georgia. Misfits, really rough start to the season, picking up a few wins here and there. What are they really going to need to get it going?
That black shield from Morgana that we gave them yesterday, the divine intervention as we called it, I think what Misfits really needed to fix was their level 1. They were not covering their jungle in the early game, which means that all of the teams that they played against up until the 0-4 point were spotting Zlatan from level 1 on his first camp, and then they never let go. They always knew where he was, which means that every time he was trying to pull a gank, the counter gank was there, and it was going wrong for Misfits. Now, what has gone right for the last 2 games of Misfits is that they prioritized jungle in their draft. So they gave Zlatan a Wukong, something that's very proactive and really good in trades early on, and they also covered the jungle really well so he doesn't get spotted.
So it's better, and it has all to do with, okay, this is what we need from our jungler and what we need our jungler to do for us. Alfari, what is your view on Misfits and how they look, well, relatively different and less strong than Spring so far?
Yeah, my view on Misfits is that they're just like not as aggressive or exciting as they were last split. I think that they really need Vetio and Zlatan. Zlatan to like start making the same aggressive plays they were doing in spring, because that's how they were getting wins. I mean, aside from abusing Jinx, but you can't do that anymore. And yeah, they're just not doing it as well now. Maybe it's just like a slower mid lane meta with Corki being really broken, so this might be a part, but I think they need to, yeah, I mean, they were just like really good in spring mid jungle, and now they are not as good.
Yeah, I think so. It's a meta-related thing for them, a little bit at least.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's like that simple. I think maybe they're just not playing as good right now.
And also, as a team, part of the challenge is going along with the meta, right? So let's talk about the Mad Lions. They have been kind of the surprise so far of summer in terms of how well they've adapted with Niski. What do you think he's brought to the team?
Yeah, Niski has definitely been playing good, I would say, especially in scrims. He's a very supportive mid laner. I mean, that's what he gets always talked about, right? That's what you think about when you think about him. And right now you see Lissandra and Ahri be 2 really high power picks. And when he has a jungler like Elioya as well, and Kai'Sa, who, I mean, Mad Lion's strength really is their jungle and support synergy, and their playmaking around these 2 players, from my perspective.
Yeah.
And Niski is just a really good facilitator for this. The champs, I mean, Swain as well, you see it right here. They're all enabling Elioya and Kai'Sa to just, go into enemy jungle because he has mid push and he has CC, and he has a strong champion for Herald fights as well. So, yeah, they just have like more coherent early game. I think it's really noticeable.
I feel like this is a very good point, the fact that he's a support mid laner, because having Unforgiven down in the bot lane, a lot of the criticism was that Unforgiven was misstepping, he was getting caught, and especially when you're playing that Jinx Aphelios meta, you cannot afford to be the first to die, because you're literally the carry for your team, you're all the damage your team holds. Right now,
is it true?
Ahri, Lissandra, Swain, these picks create so much room around hyper carries like Zeri, like Twitch, doesn't take the stage.
Okay, it's interesting that you said something. Of course, we always think about what's the synergy, what kind of champion are you picking towards the style that you want to play. But you're saying specifically, they make sure that they have a good tool in a mid laner for their secondary objectives like Dragon, etc. Is that something that was always the case for Mad Lions last time around, or is that something that teams often forget?
I'm not sure if it's something that teams forget. I think that now it's just more obvious because these champions are actually meta and strong. Lissandra and Ahri, like, you can just pick them. You don't have to default to, Orianna, Zia, Victor, and just like scale for late game. You can play these more, early game oriented champions, right? And this suits Niski. I think Mad Lions in spring, one of their weaknesses was, their early game, and now Niski helps it.
Okay, let's see what we get from the draft for Misfits versus Mad.
start as we jump into the champion select between the Mud Lions and Misfits, of course. Let's throw out there a few prior picks that these teams really do value for themselves. So when it comes to Mud Lions and Misfits, Wukong has been a very key component to their victories. The only two victories that Misfits do have is from the Wukong, and due to that proactivity we mentioned in the early stages of the game, Alyoya also gets unlocked in these more aggressive junglers. On the other hand, we have